Okay, let's talk about Jagmeet Singh quickly because one of the interesting things in Canadian politics is that in order for the Conservatives to win, they actually need a strong NDP, right? You need to have that vote split that happens. And for folks that don't know what I'm talking about, basically the Conservatives poll 35 to 40%. That's not enough to form a majority. But what happens is because the Canadian left is kind of split, there's more like the hard left wingers, the environmentalists, and the union folks traditionally. And then there's more the centrists and the bankers and the business class, which is the liberals. And in order for the conservatives to get through, there needs to be some kind of a split, mostly in kind of competitive ridings, say in and around Toronto, in and around Vancouver, and then in Quebec, there's a different vote split that happens with the bloc. But when the NDP collapses, as we saw earlier this month, the NDP hit like rock bottom, like single digits. That does create a clear path for a liberal victory. And so I think that interestingly, conservatives and the NDP can have some kind of a shared goal in that, they actually want the conservatives would actually want the NDP to be a bit stronger. And it's also interesting because if you have a left wing constituency in Canada, say like 40% of the country's left wing, you kind of imagine, okay, you have this guy who's a central banker, who's probably a multimillionaire. We don't even know because he won't disclose his assets, but he's probably a multimillionaire. And he's made all of his money through Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, globalist sort of positions in the WEF and United Nations. I mean, he's a banker, right? That's not typically the face of the left, right? Like the person who encompasses the values of left wingers who usually fight for the workers, for the little guy, people in the unions. Interestingly, I think one of the unions just endorsed conservatives for the first time. But I think that Jagmeet Singh is making a very good point here, where he's talking about how Mark Carney contributed to the housing crisis through his business, through what Brookfield Asset Management does. And that the more that Jagmeet Singh can hit these points, I think it is beneficial just in pointing out to left-wing Canadians, hey, this guy isn't your champion, right? He's totally an elitist and out of touch.